The information provided is not a substitute for legal and other professional advice where the facts and circumstances warrant. People should always consult their own legal or other professional advisors and discuss the facts and circumstances that apply to their specific circumstances. The information shared on Ask the Landlord is for educational purposes only.
How's it going, Albert?
Good, Melissa. Happy New Year, and Happy New Year to our listeners.
Happy 2023, everyone. We're excited. All right. Let's talk about resolutions. I think that's appropriate. So, do you have a story that you can share about an incident or a resolution you came to with a tenant that's an example of good communication between landlord and tenant? Was someone problematic? Did anything happen? Something that stands out that is a good lesson to other people.
Thank you, Melissa, for that question. And something came up even yesterday that I wanted to share that really shocked me in a way. And I think it goes back to one of the themes we have here is that I think communication is the most important thing between a landlord and a tenant, and just picking up the phone or, scheduling an in-person meeting to talk about an issue. There's always time to resolve things amicably, no matter how far things go, right? So even yesterday, we've been in court with a particular tenant that hasn't paid rent in 5 years. And, the case was exacerbated by COVID and shutdowns and all that, but the person hasn't paid rent in 5 years. Basically, we have very few particular issues with collections, but this one just has lingered for a long time, and we're just waiting for the court process to play out. And even where the tenant didn't show up in court and just hasn't been communicative at all, and we're just unfortunately going through the eviction process and making progress now that we can. And as part of the court case now, at the end, I had to call the tenant or show that I called the tenant to ask them certain questions to make sure that they weren't military or whatever it is. Okay. So I do that, and I get the tenant on the phone, and I'm like, I just want you to know, we have a court case against you, and you haven't paid, and you haven't paid for 5 years, and, you're going to be evicted. He goes, I didn't even know that, there was a court case. And I said, what? And he goes, well, we had a problem with this and this in my apartment. I'm like, well, we could have fixed that. Why don't we start? So then imagine we're chasing this guy for 5 years for no money. And I have a conversation with the guy yesterday. He's like, I want to pay. And I'm like, I want to fix the stuff. And we want to resolve this. But we're at the 11th hour with a court case that we're almost done with. And, and then I called, some people that I work with, and I said, did you speak to this person? They said, no. And I said, that's a lesson for me in that, yes, there are some people that I really don't want to have them be in my buildings or around me because, either I made a mistake or having them, or it's not working out, for whatever. But, then if person wants to stay and pay, and why can't they have that opportunity to stay in their home, So that was a great reminder that there's always a chance to come to have communication where you think, oh, I haven't communicated with this person, and for whatever reason, we got into a rut of not communicating, and, it just happens, so it shows up on a report. Oh, this person, oh, we're in court. Oh, so you don't call, you're in like a certain mode. But what I learned yesterday again, which was a great lesson, is that there's always a chance to recover.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it takes being pushed to the edge for some people to realize they don't have any other options, or, they really have to sometimes get their stuff together that they didn't have, together. They should have, been more responsive. So I immediately took action with that particular person, and I said, let me get my property manager on the phone, and we're going to make an appointment to take care of your things. And, he's like, yeah, I'm going to do this and to pay the rent. And I'm like, that's amazing. So I'm hoping that we can resolve that. And I learned that there's no replacement for having a straight conversation with somebody, always giving someone a chance to, do the right thing. So I think that's an important.
That's a motto I
lesson.
live by.
Give yourself a chance to do the right thing, and give the other person a chance to do the right thing. And sometimes taking a fresh approach to something that you think was not resolvable is useful. And that's what it was a very, for me, enlightening experience. Shocking. I mean, the guy hasn't paid, and we haven't been able to reach him in 5 years. And I'm like, this phone number is your phone number. It works.
Are you allowed to knock on their door?
It's unbelievable. We've knocked a million times. I mean, forget it, and it's just like, for whatever reason, there may be the call that came from me. I don't know, but it just goes to show you, and I said, look, I don't want to evict you.
Right.
What do I want you to do? I want you to stay. I want you to pay your rent. That's it. Like, what are we doing? He's like, I want to stay and pay. I'm like, I want you to stay and pay. He goes, and I said, I want to fix whatever issues you have. He goes, I want you to fix my issue. I'm like, so what are we doing?
It's just that lack of communication that created this 5-year problem that probably, hopefully, could have been resolved, much sooner.
It's, it's so dumb.
But who knows? I think also the circumstances of the past, 2.5, 3 years also probably played into it. I don't think 5 years of not paying rent in New York City is not common, correct? My mouth was open, like I'm in shock. Is that common?
No.
Okay.
No, to be fair, we have only a couple people like that, and it certainly got exacerbated by the programs that the federal government came out with, and there was certainly were certainly some rules that had to be followed with what you can evict and can't evict the person. And so, and then the courts were backed up. Yeah, so it was
right. So now are they staying in the apartment to end on a good note? Or we don't know.
So right now they're there, and I'd like to resolve it, but but that's a fresh story. It came up yesterday. It's like,
right.
I'm gonna use that as an example with my team, and for a problem that I thought was unresolvable, is there a fresh approach to take to solve that? Like,
right.
Yeah. So
when you get someone's phone number, you call them right away, face to face, and say, "Is this your phone number?" You never know.
Sometimes calling from a different number that they don't recognize.
Right. And just say, "Hey, this is my number. If you need me, this is my number.
Call me." That's right.
Text me during business hours, and let me get your number so we can avoid these things.
That's right.
All right. That was a really interesting example. Super fresh, right? And I think we've talked about this in a lot of episodes. Communication is key from tenant perspective, from landlord perspective, from even if there's property management companies involved. Just over communicate in a lot of aspects in life is really beneficial.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the messages and the purposes of the podcast is to bridge the gap between landlords and tenants so that, people can find common ground and get along and produce better housing situations for each other. And that's one example of just another example of, pick up the phone. There's human beings here,
Right. We're all just people trying to live in the greatest city in the world.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Thank you so much, Albert. That was great.